Hey, deserving listeners, 90 Day Fiancé, let's watch. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist, a professor, and a YouTuber, and this is the Psychology in Seattle YouTube channel and podcast. And I want to remind everyone that everything I say is completely speculative based on an edited reality TV show. Let's watch.
That is insane how we got to this point. But one thing is for certain, we cannot continue sleeping in separate bedrooms, not having intimacy, because I truly love him. But there is no way on earth I'm gonna stay in a marriage that is sexless.
Okay, interesting. I'm trying to remember if this was a problem the last time I saw them. I don't think it was. Stacy has been watching 90 Day Fiancé, and she has told me that with some of these couples that I'm familiar with, I've missed some of the seasons that they've been on, and I think this is one of them. And she essentially said that the show would catch me up. So I guess maybe that's what's happening now. And we're hearing that for Jasmine, they haven't had sex in a number of months and they don't sleep together in the same bed. And that she doesn't want to stay married if it's going to be a sexless relationship. Okay, well, I'm guessing we'll get more information since this show is all about exploring these issues and at least what can pass as therapy. And I say that dismissively. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. We'll see. But she's saying that, for sure, people have their needs and people can have their preferences. And if that's a deal breaker, then that's a deal breaker for some people. And that's okay. Sometimes there are reasons behind it, right? For Gino, it could be something physical, it could be something emotional, or both. It could be something that he doesn't know what's going on. It could just be that he doesn't want to have sex with someone that is yelling at him all the time. It could be a passive-aggressive act of withholding sex because she hurts his feelings a lot. It could be a recursive cycle that the more she hurts his feelings, the less he has sex, the more she feels like she has the right or the feelings to justify or whatever, and it just spins out of control. This happens all the time. Often, stereotypically, this is associated with the genders reversed, and we should consider that when we talk about this, how we're looking at this through a gendered lens. Because in my experience, when it is this configuration where the wife is the one wanting more sex, then the husband is seen as weak or as almost like a girl, or maybe even accused as being gay, or he must just need Viagra or something. And, maybe medication is on the table. But when we reverse it, it's almost seen, not by everyone, of course, but by many people as being a completely different. There's a whole different set of assumptions. And that's the thing, is that it's all just assumptions. There are so many roads to a marriage having, well, what I'll say is that in treating couples, I found that no couple has two people with the exact same libido, especially over time. There's always a difference in libido, sometimes a vast difference in libido. And it doesn't usually pan out, on average, maybe it does, like 60% of the time in heterosexual relationships, it's the wife who is having a lower libido, but not always. And the reason why we don't hear about it very often is because there's so much shame for a man who isn't constantly a walking boner. It's like he's not a real man, literally. He has no worth. And there's so many problems with that, obviously. It also can fuel the prejudices that are with women in her shoes of, he must be cheating. If he's not having sex with me, he must be having sex with someone. And what kind of a man doesn't want to have sex with his wife all the time, constantly, And every human has some kind of libido, and also we all have our preferences. And the idea that a man would need emotional safety and intimacy is like, what? So he's a woman? No. Everyone needs emotional intimacy and closeness and safety. Everyone does. Everyone does. It just so happens that in our society, women are often the ones who are feeling unsafe because of the patriarchy and because of rape culture and because of misogyny and the expectations that are set up in heterosexual relationships where it's all about the man getting pleasure and the woman is just there. So generally speaking, yeah, but everyone needs safety and closeness and maturity and mutual companionship and togetherness and all that stuff. Now, people of any gender can have varying degrees of comfort with casual sex and conflict sex or grudge fight sex or something. I can't remember what they say. Grudge sex, or I can't remember the phrase. But anyway, there's a lot of it right. So that's one issue. The other issue is she's saying they don't sleep together in the same bed. And she's equating that with sex, which I don't know what their relationship is like. Maybe it is very connected. Maybe, it goes hand in hand. But a lot of couples don't sleep in the same bed at night for a variety of reasons. One, they might not live in the same house. But two, there's snoring issues. There's, CPAP issues. There's temperature issues. One person likes it cold, the other person likes it hot. One person likes the window open, the other person doesn't. One person likes to sleep with the dogs, the other person doesn't. There's various reasons why people would sleep in a different. Now, sometimes you sleep in a different bed in the same room, just so you can have your own space or something like that. There's research showing that if you do sleep in the same bed, that it's associated with a greater satisfaction, longer relationship. But there's a lot of factors that play into that sort of thing. You could also say that, in all likelihood, if one or both are not getting enough sleep because of having to deal with the other person in proximity while they're sleeping, like snoring or something, or one person getting up at 4 a.m. and waking the other person up, that sleep deprivation can cause massive problems in your mood and also in your marriage. So, it's kind of probably a wash. It's just a personal choice anyway. So now, can someone like Jasmine have a deal breaker about that? It's all preferences. It's fine. But it can't be just imposed in a domineering, abusive way. And there's usually, in all likelihood, Gino wants to have sex with her too. I don't know about the sleeping in the same bed, but I'm just going to take a guess based on what I remember about them in the previous seasons that I've seen them, that something is either going on emotionally or physically or both. And when people of any gender have, barriers, however big or small, to the flow of sex working out, whether it's boner related or lubrication related or pain related or trauma related or something, what is often the case is that individuals and couples don't have ways of talking about it to grease the wheels, so to speak. They will get uptight and ashamed and just shut the whole thing down. It's a lot easier to avoid, right? If you are kind of worried about boners, or you are wondering, well, what if I don't orgasm or something like that? What's going to happen? And you don't know how to talk about it. You don't have trust that the other person will be able to talk about it or will receive it, or you're worried the other person will get uptight or blame you, or they'll get upset or throw their hands up. There's a lot of roads to what I'm hearing from the two of them, and so I guess we'll find out which one it is. The other thing I'll say is that it's not uncommon for people in Jasmine's shoes to interpret this as evidence that her husband doesn't love him. And that might be the case, but it certainly isn't always the case. And so it can really cause this toxic cycle of shutting down communication, lack of trust, of being able to talk about this without it getting weird, lack of awareness, shame, misinterpretation, just across the board.
I'm a light sleeper. Of course I hear you when you come in at 5 a.m.
We nearly ended things a few years ago when Florian cheated on me, and I don't want to go through that again. But recently, Florian's been hitting the clubs like he's a born-again frat boy.
Okay, I don't remember that. I must have missed that, or they didn't have it on the show. Right, because it's been the Darcy and Stacy show, right? And there hasn't been another season of that, which I'm kind of glad about because that last season seemed like total shenanigans. But like Georgie was like a completely different personality. Maybe it was, anyway. So we're hearing that he cheated on her 2 years ago and they almost broke up. And now he's going out a lot. Yeah, so this fits with at least the assumption of this relationship that he is just in it for the green card and the lifestyle and the money or something, and or he considers Stacy to be kind of like a mom rather than a wife, because he the way he comes across, and it could just be the fact that he doesn't know English super well, but he comes across like a teenager or a child at times. The way he talks, is sort of like, "Go, get on my back," and that's coming back to me. Yeah, I do remember now. A woman sort of, I don't know, weaseled her way into the situation, or I don't know, and had taken a picture of her and Florian in bed, like without clothes on or something, seemingly, and had posted it online or something, knowing that it would get back to Stacy. So is that what the infidelity? I'm trying to remember the details on that. And Florian was claiming that they were just friends or something. And I remember thinking there's a possibility that maybe nothing did happen, or anyway, I can't remember. But she's saying cheating, so I'm going to just kind of go with that.
Staying out till like 5 in the morning, flirting with girls. I see things
You like
and I
fun?
question you about it, and then you flip it back on me
You're
like,
going to make it like...
looks him up and down, and he looks her up and down, and I'm standing right there, and I'm just like, what the
Yeah, I'd be really curious as to where he's going at night, because there's nothing wrong with going to the clubs if you're a single guy, or no, you're a married guy and you're not there to meet others, and you just like, some people just really like the music and the scene, and they have guy friends or even women friends that are there that they aren't romantically interested in. It's just possible, but it's a red flag. It'd be one thing if he was meeting up with friends and playing cards or playing video games, or I don't know, what me and my friends do. We play music, or we play cards, we play board games, we just play various things, or we'll go to a movie, or we'll go to a restaurant, or I don't know, that kind of stuff, and just talk about how wonderful our marriages are. I mean, honestly. So if it was that kind of thing, and maybe it is, but if it's literally just going to the clubs and coming home at 5 in the morning, I mean, it doesn't raise confidence in his motivation. But who knows? I don't know.
Like, that's like flirting. We're here to work on a relationship and be better and talk normal to each other.
You talk first. Just open. This like comes around, goes around,
You know what I mean? It could be a language barrier to some extent, lost in translation, but just the way it is, it comes around, goes around. It's like, what does that even mean? And maybe they know what that means, but even just his attitude, just like, well, whatever, go get on my back, mom. I mean, wife.
Separately, because since he got to the U.S., it's been very hard to keep our marriage from falling apart. 4 months ago, Binny and I hit rock bottom. I just couldn't take it anymore, and I took Avi and I moved us to Ethiopia. Well, I've been in Ethiopia. Binny got a part-time job as a stunt performer, so I thought that'd be really good for him, to get a job.
Okay, I have watched this couple over at least 2 or 3 seasons, so I feel pretty familiar with them, but again, it's been a long time. It's nice to see them, but I'm sad to hear that they aren't doing well. So to catch you up on what she's telling us here, they reviewed the beginning of the relationship. They met in Africa. She always wanted to go to Africa, so she went when she was 28, and she was in Ethiopia, and she saw a guy in the street, Binny, and hit on him, and then they were dating, and they got pregnant after a couple months, and I remember they had an online relationship, and I think she was planning on moving out to Ethiopia, right? And then she did. and then eventually they've been together a total of 5 years now, which doesn't seem that long. It feels longer. They've been married for 2 years. So, and then he came to the U.S. at some point, which I remember that happening. I remember that season where he was at the he was doing MMA fighting, right? And yeah, and so they've had increased conflict. I remember their conflict was a pretty classic preoccupied avoidant dynamic where I don't know. I mean, maybe he was cheating, but she would assume or be very suspicious of him cheating, and the data that she presented to back her claim that he was definitely cheating was not very convincing, at least to me. He could have been cheating because at the time he was in Africa, or I can't remember, but yeah, right. He was like recording in a studio, I remember, and he'd go to the gym with his friends, and she would just get increasingly upset that he wouldn't text back, and maybe all day. And he would claim that his phone was off or he didn't have a signal, but it didn't really make any sense. And it made sense to me to wonder if he was actively, passive-aggressively not responding because, one, he just was like, I don't want to be on a leash. And two, I want to send a message to her that she can't contact me all the time. You know, she has this assumption that she needs to be in contact. I'm not doing anything. I'm just working. I'm on my grind, you know. I'm doing my dance stuff and my acting stuff and my music stuff and my, you know, all this stuff. So, and he could have been cheating. Who knows? But it didn't look like it, at least the data that she had. And when they would make up, the process was him opening up. Now, he didn't help because there's a way to provoke a preoccupied person, and avoidant people often will because of their avoidance. And I want to be clear that avoidantly attached, and I don't know if this fits for them. I would have to talk with them for a while to know if this fits for them. But for avoidantly attached people, they don't avoid because they're jerk faces. They avoid because they're terrified. In the same way that preoccupied, anxious people will pursue and annoy because they're terrified, avoidant people avoid because they're terrified. But due to their avoidance, they don't even know necessarily what their emotions are. And so it won't be apparent from the outside. They won't even necessarily know what emotions they're feeling. And so they appear cold as they are avoiding, but they are absolutely terrified. They are avoiding their feelings because if they acknowledge their feelings, they have to acknowledge that they are terrified, that they're hurt, and that they need people. They have to acknowledge that they have emotions at all. But also, they are avoiding because they're so terrified of rejection, they would rather just avoid the whole enterprise. It's not a conscious thought. If they were conscious of it, they wouldn't agree with that because it doesn't make sense, especially if you're married. But that's what they're doing. Just like, I'll just retract my head into my turtle shell and hope that this all blows over and hope that no one rejects me because I just don't know what to do. It's that kind of thing. There's different flavors of it. But anyway, so dogs are barking, not mine. Then we hear that they had some conflicts in the U.S. and they hit rock bottom, according to her, 4 months ago. And she moved to Ethiopia with her son, which I find to be interesting that she would move to Ethiopia. Because in my head, I vaguely remember a season in which they were in L.A. because he wanted to work in show business as a stunt person or something. And she was going to move back to Jersey with her son, but then she moved to Ethiopia. It's like, why would that happen? To be with extended family who like splashed her in the face with wine. I remember this one time, Biniyam's older sisters. Anyway, they haven't seen each other for 4 months. I'm guessing they haven't talked much either, or maybe they have because Binny would really miss his son. So, yikes.
I don't know what's going to happen in the relationship, but I want us to both be better, more peaceful people. It's hard because, I want to believe that there's still hope for Binny and I, but things are just so bad right now. Because recently I found concrete evidence that Binny has been cheating on me with another woman.
Okay. So we'll see what happens with this, but this could go either way. When you hear this, you think, oh, concrete, well, then that should seal the deal. But for people with her presentation, because I remember from previous seasons, because that was a question I had, if he really was cheating, or especially if he was giving strong indicators, then that would change the relationship such that she should leave him, or she should be highly questioning if this was the right relationship. But I repeatedly remember thinking, if there was strong evidence, she would present it on camera, right? They could have edited it out, but who knows? I would give this a 50-50 chance that after watching this season, I'll conclude that she did, in fact, have concrete evidence. There's another possibility that he did cheat and is avoiding the reality of it because he doesn't know what to do regarding the green card thing, or the, status in the United States would come into question if they got divorced, or contact with his kid, or who knows. It doesn't justify cheating and lying. But I could also see a scenario, which happens sometimes, where the preoccupied person will badger and abuse, because just imagine for years you aren't cheating at all, and you're just constantly being accused of it. Eventually, now the responsible thing to do is, before cheating yourself, if you're the one being attacked, is to divorce and then cheat, or not divorce and then have a relationship. But unfortunately, what will happen sometimes is that these people will end up cheating. It doesn't make it okay. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's a narrative that is viable. And I said this earlier, but I want to be very clear that there's no justification for cheating unless you're in an abusive relationship. There's a fuzzy line between what's abusive and what's not sometimes, but to me anyway, and everyone can have their own morals, but there's no justification. If your partner is a jerk face, or is distant, or doesn't listen to your feelings, or promises things and then doesn't show up, those are horrible things, but two wrongs don't make it right.
It's so hurtful. It's so hard.
Brandon.
Yeah, I'm reminded of how tragic I think their relationship is, because, especially hearing how it's progressed to this point, because I'm reminded of how I felt about them, that they were very cute together and they loved each other, and they had a very similar vibe and they fit together well. And their conflict is it's such an easy thing to fix in couple therapy. It's just like lobbing the ball over the plate. It's so easy to help people. And once they get past a certain point, it gets a lot harder, once the resentment sets in and the love dies. But from the previous seasons, they were in the first few years, they still had that love and that passion and that goodwill. And to see them go down this preoccupied, avoidant road without anyone helping them at all, seemingly, was tragic to me, because I'm watching, I'm like, someone like me, of which there are many of us, could help you with this in like 5 sessions. Or we could get significant work done and establish some very fundamental, important things in 5 sessions, maybe 25 to really solidify it. But this is easily fixed. At the very least, you'd be given the opportunity to understand what's happening here,
Julie and I, we have our problems, but, deep down, we really do love each other, and we really do want to make this work. But lack of sex has been an issue I've been dealing with for a while. And these issues with intimacy, it all started when I first told her, I want to start trying to have a baby.
Okay, so we're learning that they have a libido difference and there's conflict about it. He wants to have sex more than she does. And he's saying a lack of intimacy. Sometimes that means they haven't had sex at all over the span of time, or it's just not as often as he would like. I just remember the Woody Allen movie Annie Hall, which I know there's problems with Woody Allen in all likelihood, but I still love Annie Hall. It's such a great movie. And there's that scene where they're both in therapy and Woody Allen is saying to his therapist, "You're not going to believe it, Doc. I mean, we only have sex like I don't know, 2 or 3 times a week. I mean, what's a guy supposed to do? And then Annie Hall is in therapy, and she's like, Doc, you're not going to believe it. I mean, we have sex it's all the time. It's like 2 or 3 times a week. I mean, are you kidding me? Anyway, so, I don't know what they're talking about here, but they're also talking about kids. So he's saying, ever since I said I wanted to have kids, she stopped having sex with me. So if that's all that it is, then a very fundamental conversation about birth control would be in order, right? And normally I would think, well, obviously they've had that. But after watching 90 Day Fiancé enough times, I'm not so sure. So let's see what happens. All right, well, I want to remind everyone that we get a lot of emails, but the emails that get pushed to the top by Stacy, she goes through all the emails, are the YouTube members and the patrons. So if you want your emails to get priority, I mean, I'll see the other emails as well if I have the time, which I usually do to some extent. But if you really want to make sure, then become a member or a patron. Also, when you become a member and a patron, you are literally paying my bills so that I can sit here in front of the camera and yammer at you. And everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.